Hello, everyone, and let's talk about Rinak.
Consider this an honor. Come on, impress me. Trying to get away, are you? You can't outrun me. Uh-oh. Turning to cowardly tricks?
Rinak, a part-time.
Okay, that's enough. So let's take a look at her stats and, let's just go over her kit. But so far, her animations are pretty good. I like them. We've known about them for a while because they were revealed at the Origins update trailer, as well as their in-game as of right now. But let's take a look at Rinak's base stats. I think she has average attack. I'm not too sure if it's above average or below average for that, but the base defense is really low. HP is a little bit, it's around average. Speed is insanely high. It is the highest speed in the game. The other two characters in the game who have this base speed is Red Kron and Ron. No starting critical hit chance, no starting critical hit damage, no starting effectiveness, effect resistance, and of course we have base dual attack chance. Both of her imprints are attack percentage, which does make sense for her kit. So let's take a look at the next animation here. I'll just go ahead and mute the video and just play it out. So next skill here we have is the skill 2, which if you've played through the story, it is the animation of the S3. And this has a combat readiness pushback of 40%. And when she does it, she inflicts Pilfer and grants increased attack to the caster for 2 turns. It takes an extra turn. And this also has a soul burn of 20 souls. And what Pilfer does is decreases the attack, health, and defense of the target by 20% and gives the caster spoils, and spoils does the opposite and instead increases attack by health and defense by 20%, which can stack up to 4 times. I'm assuming this is because you can hit multiple targets with this skill, and as long as you don't die, well, you keep the spoils, right? And of course, if she dies, then Pilfer gets dispelled. Now, Pilfer is an undispellable debuff, just like Leafy's debuff called Omen, so it will go on your target no matter what, and it will stick on you for the entirety of the battle as long as Rinak is alive. And I think it's honestly a pretty interesting and strong skill, because it increases her attack and it takes an extra turn. So that means for what we're going to read on the skill 3, it makes sense. Also, it means that she has some team utility because she's decreasing the attack of the target. So if you hit a DPS that's attack scaling, this is undispellable, meaning they will permanently have it on them as long as Rinak is alive. It will make it easier for Rinak to survive things. It also decreases the health and defense of the target. Decreasing the health of the target is something we have not seen outside of injury. So this also hurts HP bruisers because it decreases their max HP, meaning less damage for them. It also means it makes things easier to kill. So this is a 20% defense, the 20% HP decrease. If you put this on a tank, it's going to nuke their HP quite a bit. If you do this on a DPS like Bystander Hua Young, it will make her a lot easier to kill. If you're on a counter set build, if you're on a destruction build, well, you're probably going to die from whatever the next attack is anyways, but it makes this a lot easier to play into Bystander Hua Young. And the defense break here is obviously, it's not as big as an actual defense break with the 70%, but it's still a defense decrease. Now with the current frenzy, defense got increased, so having this 20% decrease in defense is still pretty huge, but still having any form of a defense decrease does mean more damage for your team. So I still think it's a very strong skill. This is why the S2 is such a really good combo skill. So because you get an attack buff when you attack on the S3, it penetrates defense by 100%, and the damage dealt is in proportional to speed. And this generally means that you're probably not going to build any crit stats on her. You're just going to build straight speed, and since most of her things ignore and she has ignore ER on her most important debuff, which is Pilfer, you probably don't care about building effectiveness on her. But if you want to build effectiveness so you can get benefit off the pushback, then go ahead. Now, after you, I don't know if it actually needs to hit. Yeah, it just says after attacking, it inflicts 7k fixed damage on all enemies, meaning you do not need to hit your target to get the fixed damage, which is very important, because a lot of things in game right now says you need to hit to get this fixed damage. which on her, it doesn't say that. She has a self-stun on this skill. It's kind of like a gimmick in her kit that matches her character, and it kind of matches what we had in her like pre-kit. So far the skill is very, I think it's still strong, because she's an attack scaling pen unit, and attack scaling pen units are going to be very strong, at least for RTA Frenzy, and generally attack scaling pen units are very strong anyways. Because she doesn't need any crit stats, it does make her fairly easier to build. You're just going to build her with speed, and literally just speed and attack, right? And even so, I'm not even sure how much attack you really need, because I think you may want to build her slightly bulky, because she can be a really good team asset because of the fact that she has 7k fixed damage for the team. And because of that Pilfer debuff, if you end up getting that somehow on most of the targets on an enemy team, you should basically just have a permanent debuff on the enemy team that they're fighting at a disadvantage the whole entire match that they can't get rid of. So I honestly think it's very strong for that reason. And one thing that I saw someone else mention, I know they don't they commented on YouTube, but their name is Millie, and they had an idea where you would pay, basically because of the fact that she has a self-stun on her S3, she's going to self-stun herself and then proc Dragon King Sharoon, which means that you can have a team bridge to push back the enemy team and get bonus fixed damage off a cascade. Now this S1 is pretty normal, there's nothing too insane about it, but the damage is definitely look like it's there. It was able to do like 6,000 damage to a Payra. Now you definitely want to pick up this artifact. Now this artifact does look like it's very niche, but at the same time there could be a use for this on other thieves. So this just protects her since she's going to be stunned, right? Since she's going to be stunned, it puts her into stealth so she doesn't get targeted, and it just makes it a lot easier to play her, right? And this is a 2-turn stealth, which will probably keep her in stealth for long enough to almost cycle back into her S2. I do think this has some value to get put on to other characters, like maybe Celine. If she gets debuffed, you're gonna get a combat. You can have like, you go into stealth, right? The only issue is that this procs at the end of the turn, so I don't think there's a lot of characters who can actually benefit from this. But I guess it can be some form of self-protection that someone can cook up on some other thief. But I think this is mostly going to be only used on Rinak. I do think she's a very cool character, and she is a limited character, so I think you're going to be picking her up regardless, because you know the rules of all limited units in the game. Take one and then get out, because you never know if this unit is going to ever be good, or if they might even buff the character. Now as of late we haven't had any limited characters that have been buffed, but if they somehow find a tech for this character, like for instance the Dragon King Sharoon thing I said, or maybe they release another character that punishes you for getting stunned, and you don't have Rinak, you're going to be in a really bad spot, because you cannot pick up Rinak until she gets a rerun again. So make sure to pick up one copy of her, and that is pretty much it for this video. So I'll see you guys in the next one.